Chlorophytum, another species, very easy to take care of, or sometimes we know these plants as spider plants. I'm not sure why they are called spiders, but because when they are mature enough, they give off tentacles they appear like a spider, okay, with all the long hands, okay. But are the babies of the plants, whereby if you've seen one or two roots growing out of the babies, you can actually cut them off and plant them as a separate spider plant. Okay, you get many more plants. You can propagate from these seedlings or babies. Okay, two variants that are normally found at the nurseries is the straight leaf spider plant or chlorophytum and the curly spider. Okay, I've shown you enough examples. You can actually choose from those, or if you are not those not at the beginners level, you already have some experience with houseplants, there are other species that you can venture with. Okay, so there are many more that you can choose from. These are just examples, and they are examples that are tested to be easy for even for beginners. Okay, there are other species as well. So the one that I'm showing you here, that these are to me, okay, species that are suitable for those who are already in the next level, okay, second level or maybe third level, intermediate level. This is the Maranta orchids, okay. So I know that some of you like to grow orchids. They may appear difficult, but actually if you know the do's and the don'ts, they are actually quite easy, right? Okay, so you've been to the nursery, you've selected and bought your plants, maybe one or two plants, and you are taking them back to your office or your home maybe. And then you're wondering, where are you going to place these plants? Okay, first thing to do is check your office or where you're going to put the plants. You will need to find a spot that is receiving enough natural light. Okay, depending on what kind of plants you're bringing in. Okay, perhaps at the nursery you may have already asked and the owner, and then they say that okay, this can actually live in medium light. So you can still put them in bright light, but and they will thrive even more. But if it is medium light, usually it is either by the window or maybe a little bit away from the window, about 1 to 2 feet away from the window. That would be medium light. But it depends on where your office is located. Okay, at COP, there are several areas whereby offices will receive a lot of morning and afternoon sunlight, and there are areas whereby the rooms are naturally receiving very minimum direct sunlight. Okay, so if you find that your office is receiving a lot of morning and afternoon sunlight, then if you put your plants by the window, it's actually receiving bright light. Okay, but if you are in the area whereby like my office is not receiving a lot of bright light, unless it is a very hot and sunny day, usually by the window is receiving medium light. They will still be able to grow, but for some plants like the lipstick plant, whereby it is a flowering type of plants, if you put it in medium light, they will grow, but they will not flower. Okay, so pick a spot that receive a lot of natural light. Okay, if you want it to grow faster, put it by the window. But if you will still have to look at your window. If it is receiving a lot of direct afternoon sunlight, then by the window is not a good place, because afternoon sunlight is very hot and can scorch the leaves. But if your office is receiving a lot of direct sunlight, but very mild 8 a.m. sunlight perhaps, then it may still be considered as a good spot for your plants. because as I mentioned, some plants can tolerate mild early morning sunlights. So if your office naturally get between medium to low light, then you will have to select those plants that can tolerate low light, okay, like the snake plants and the devil's ivy or the climbing philodendrons. These are suitable for rooms that receive between medium to low light. Okay, again, you will need to find out what kind of window in your office that you have, whether it's facing the north or facing the south. So usually this north and south facing window do not get a lot of bright sunlight, but they do. By the window is a good place because it's receive a lot of bright indirect light. Okay, if it is a east or a west facing window or balcony, okay, these areas will get a direct light. Okay, if it is the east facing balcony or east facing window, then it gets a lot of morning light. Okay, and if it is a west facing window, it will get a lot of afternoon sunlight. So these are direct light, especially the west facing window. A lot of strong direct sunlight is not suitable for indoor plants. Okay, let's look at some frequently asked questions, especially for beginners. First on the list, when do I water my plant? Okay, when do I water my plant? See, I've been a very heavy waterer before, and this is not a good practice. But as I mentioned, the plant that I was heavily watering was the devil's ivy, so it survived. Okay, it survived my heavy-handed practice. But after that, I learned that, and of course I read and get a lot of information from the internet. I learned that plants, especially those that are being grown indoors and in containers, okay, in pots, you cannot treat them like plants that are growing in your garden or outdoor, because if you think of indoor conditions, it is not getting a lot of direct sunlight, and especially in our offices where we have air conditioning. So the rate of the soil drying is very slow. So which means that if you keep on watering it every day, the water is going to accumulate and the roots will not like it, because they are not water plants. They are not plants that are supposed to be living in water. They are land plants, and some of them are epiphytes, some are climbers. Naturally, they do not like being having their roots being soaked in water. So having said that, they still require water, because if they don't get water, they are not going to be able to synthesize food and do their photosynthesis. You still need to water them, but when the time to plant is, you will have to observe the soil or the media in the pot or the container. You will have to observe in such a way that you need to wait until the media or the soil is almost dry before you give it water. Okay, and how do you water it? How do you water it? Of course, before that, how do you know that the soil or the media is almost dry? There's no other way. You will have to feel it with your fingers. Stick your fingers into the soil. I usually will stick until 2 knuckles, okay, 2 knuckles or perhaps around 2 inches into the pot, and feel the soil. If it feels moist, then leave it for another 1 or 2 days. But if it feels dry, of course, you will be able to tell. Okay, if you put your finger into the soil, you'll be able to tell if it feels cool and it feels moist. not time to water yet. If it feels very dry, then it is time for you to water. Another method is by lifting your pot. Okay, you will have a hands-on after this. Sorry, for those who did not, who are not attending the hands-on session, perhaps I will have a separate video for the hands-on. You will have to feel the weight of the pot. Okay, this usually you will learn this with time. When you first buy your plant, you try to memorize how it feels when the pot is watered, how heavy it is. When it is dry, usually it will be lighter. Then you will know, okay. Usually I will lift my pot and think, okay, this feels very light. So I know when it is very light that it has been dry fully. Okay, and then I water it. Sometimes it's difficult for you to lift a pot because the pot is, one thing is maybe a terracotta pot or maybe it's a ceramic pot. It is very, very heavy and it's a big pot. You can't be lifting a big plant in a big, heavy pot all the time. One way is maybe to stick your finger, or another way, if you can invest in a moisture meter. I think this one will cost around 100 ringgit for a very good moisture meter that can last you for a long time. It comes in a very long probe. So what you do is you put the probe into the soil and feel, it will read, give you a reading whether it is still moist or dry. If it registers as a dry, then it's time for you to water your plants. That's the first rule of thumb. Get your watering right. Do not water your plant if you feel that it is still moist. Okay, watering a plant that still has moisture is going to invite fungus, right? So get this, the first rule right. Right, you know that it's time for you to water it because you know the whole pot, the soil is almost completely dry, or maybe for certain plants it's already halfway through being dry. Okay. How do you water it? How much water do you need? Just half a cup or maybe quarter cup? Okay. Sometimes I see a lot of people, they like to water their plants maybe just half a cup into a very big pot, and they expect that it should be enough for the whole plant to drink. Okay. We as human pun drink around 8 cups of water a day. Okay. You have to remember that getting watering right is important for the development of the plant root. Okay, if the root is healthy, then the whole plant will be healthy. And how do you get the root to be healthy? You have to get the watering right. How do I do the right watering? By thoroughly watering it. Thoroughly means you may need to use quite a large amount of water if it has been you have left the plant to be completely dry, and you will need to do it slowly. Okay, you turn around the pot and I will show you if I can upload the hands-on session. What you do is you need to water thoroughly around the whole pot, so that you get the whole media or the soil moist, not some part moist, some part still dry. You need to make sure that the whole media is moist. Okay, sometimes if you've left your plant to be dry for so long, you need to be patient when you are watering it, and you need to do this until you see water appearing at the bottom of the pot. Then let it drain out completely, and make sure that the pot is not sitting in water, because remember, this is not an aqua plant, this is a land plant, so the roots must not be in water. So drain off any water that is in the plate, the saucer at the bottom, or in the container.